we are introducing legislation to establish a state-owned holding company to oversee and coordinate key strategic SOEs. Now, to coordinate, to ensure that there is line of sight, so as to make sure that we are able to see at one glance, on one radar screen, precisely how our state-owned enterprises are functioning, what their financial health is, what their operational capability is, what their policy frameworks are, and how they are progressing in terms of meeting our overriding objectives. The legislation will assign the functions of the holding company, which will cover issues of governance, how boards are appointed. We found that the number of state-owned enterprises that we have different ways of appointing boards, and yet we are the same government, and we have the same one shareholder, and every state-owned enterprise does as it likes. And I'd like to see that coming to an end. We must all be pointing in the same direction. At times, some state-owned enterprises don't even issue their financial reports for years. And all this happens below the screen or even underground. And we carry on, and yet a state-owned enterprise is collapsing. The holding company will help to coordinate, to have line of sight, where even Parliament will be able to see exactly what's happening at one go. When it is time for reporting, everyone will be expected to present their wares and their reports so that we can see how the balance sheet looks like, how the income statement looks like. And we can see how the policies that have been approved by this Parliament are being implemented. We will also be able to have line of sight on, for instance, board remunerations. There are other state-owned enterprises that have different, vastly different board remuneration policies. And yet we are the same government. We are the same shareholder. Executives are remunerated completely differently without proper processes and procedures. Not necessarily that they should all end the same, but there should be procedures. And all this, the financial reporting, which is important, also has to be streamlined, has to be able to enable all of us to have clear line of sight. Now, this does not mean we are going to, from the holding company level, be running these state-owned enterprises. It is the coordination. This is in line with global best practice and is the approach taken by many countries with SOEs that successfully fulfill a social and economic development mandate. Now, the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation has been assigned the responsibility to finalize the process towards the establishment of the holding company now that we no longer have the Department of Public Enterprises. And it will establish a dedicated SOE reform unit with the appropriate expertise to oversee this. The SOEs that were previously under the stewardship of the Department of Public Enterprises will report to their respective line departments in terms of policy and regulatory matters, so as to avoid the confusion. While some in this House might be dismissive of the work being coordinated in the presidency, let us not lose sight of what these measures mean for the everyday lives of South African citizens. They mean more affordable and reliable electricity, cleaner water, efficient trains, and lower data costs. While the capacity to drive these reforms required a budget in the tens of millions, it has unlocked more than 500 billion rand in new investment in our economy. We should not lose sight of that. We must therefore think not only of what it will cost for the presidency to play this important role effectively, but what value the work of the presidency will have for our economy and our society. The presidency will continue to nurture strong and good partnerships with key role players in our economy, with business, with labor, with civil society, and a variety of other stakeholders. And all these relationships will be very, very closely and well managed by ministers and our deputy ministers. And this will also be enhanced as we go to the national dialogue that we will convene to forge the common vision of our country together, working together with other key role players. We will work closely with this Parliament to drive an ambitious agenda of legislative reform and to enable Parliament to play its own important role in holding the executive to account. Just this week, I signed into law the Climate Change Act, the Public Procurement Act, the Pensions Funds Amendment Act, and the National Small Enterprise Amendment Act. Now, these new laws will take our country forward by strengthening our climate change response and building climate resilience, modernizing our procurement system, giving workers access to their retirement savings, and streamlining support for small and medium enterprises. We have noted calls for programs to include young unemployed people in various forms of work, training and development. Honorable Hlophe raised this matter pointedly and said we should make military training compulsory so as to enhance the discipline and get young people to be used to the world of work. Yes, that is an admirable dream, but it costs money. If we had the resources to get all those millions of young people into, for instance, training in the military, yes, it could be done. But we don't have the resources. So therefore, we have to manage